Hi, guys. Welcome. This is episode 4 of the Really, Really Badly podcast. This one is entitled Social Media, Pros and Cons. Me and Travis set out to make a 2-part series on social media, but not surprisingly, as we started talking about it, we realized that there was more that we'd like to cover. So this is actually episode 1 of 4 as we do a little social media kick. So hope you guys enjoy it. Around minute 46, we experienced some technical difficulties. My feed cut out, so we had to switch over to Travis's, so bear with us as the audio might sound a little off. As always, please email us at reallyBadlyPodcast@gmail.com if you'd like to join in the conversation. As we get this whole thing started, we are interested, what are you guys wanting to hear, and what are your thoughts on all these topics we discuss? So thank you for being here. This is episode 4 of Really, Really Badly. All right, man. Take us away.
Where are we going?
To a magical land?
Really, really badly podcast episode 4?
That's the place we're going, man.
Let's go!
Ah! Are we there?
We're there.
Oh.
We're live. We're there.
Oh, man. Whew. It's good to be here, man. I wasn't ready for it, but it's here now.
Yeah, it's here. It's here. Number 4. Was I even right in saying 4?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
so.
No, you're right.
Okay.
We've
I
done
just said
so
the first
many.
number I thought it was. I was just like, yeah. So today we're gonna do a part 1 of part 2 so far, but it might be parts more. Especially after doing some research, some of these things, I was like, man, we could barely break some of these down into a full 20 minutes each. So
yeah,
this might become a part 6 or 8, but for now it's 1 of 2.
Okay, I like
is
it.
the plan, but plans never go as planned.
Stay tuned. Yeah, might multiply.
Yeah, so we're talking about social media is kind of our overall topic, and today we wanted to just run before. Here's what the plan was. The plan was, for those of us who aren't us, who know our previous conversations, the plan was that today we were going to talk about pros and cons of social media, the goods, the bads, the in-betweens. And then next week we were going to do a part 2, best practices. So how do we, what's the best ways that we found in our lives to implement this? What are the ways that we could do better? Things like that. And so that was the plan. But like I said, we could probably make it more than that. So we'll see where it goes.
Cool.
But for
plan.
today, yeah, we're going to talk about the pros and cons and maybe a little bit of the evolution of social media. So
for sure. Yeah.
What's sorry.
No, let's get right into it. Let's do it. Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Give me a pro.
Okay. Here's a pro. Staying connected with your family and friends. Sorry, I thought of the most generic pro, right off the top.
That's great.
But actually, though.
Yeah, no, and I have that. That was actually my first pro. I put it in parentheses. I put connect in parentheses.
Nice.
Because I think it can be a fine line sometimes, whether you're actually connecting or
interesting.
not. And I just say that personally because I think most of my more meaningful connections have happened at least over phone calls, if not more, face to face, or like this over Skype and whatnot. But I think you can legitimately connect with people over social media in many ways. I just think that it typically, in my life anyway, has seemed to best serve itself when the online connection is what is going to bring about more face-to-face time connection. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
we're connecting online in order to either plan something or do something face to face, right? Or maybe we're, reminiscing online about a face to face moment, if that makes sense.
Sure. Or like if you're if it's been a while since you've seen that person, and it will be a while till you see that person, it's kind of a good way to stay connected in between, I found.
Oh yeah,
You know,
totally.
family or distant relatives or friends you won't see till the holidays or something like that. Yeah, it's just good to hear from your friends or get a stupid post. It's just something funny.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Entertainment was another one I had. Just
Mm-hmm.
like you said, I mean, I like so for everyone out there, Brandon and I, and then like three of my friends from college. We just had like this little thread in Instagram, and we shared stupid stuff on all the time,
Every day.
And it's great. Yeah, I just think it's hilarious. I probably send the most things, and I feel so bad sometimes because I don't know if people are annoyed by this. Because I think I started the thread just without even asking, just like, here, have this, and it was unsolicited. So I don't know if it's annoying or if it's actually good, but
No, I love it. Don't give me. Yeah, that's awesome. What? What? I never asked you though. Why did you call it DBR? I don't know if this is
no,
safe
I
for
think
work. Or...
isn't that no? That's just I think that's what it called it because it's like Drew, Brandon.
Oh,
Wait, what's the R though? No one in that group's named R. Did I name it that, or did I think it just
I don't
names
know.
itself? I don't know how that works.
I thought that you named it DBR, and I was like,
Is that
what
not
does that
safe
stand for?
work?
Well, anyway.
I have no idea why that R is there, but I thought it was because it was Drew, Brandon, and then like the other groups. Maybe I didn't name it. Dude, this is a mystery.
Oh,
Must be solved.
gotta call in Scooby Doo for this one.
No, you can name it, and it is named DBR, and I have no idea why.
All right. Well, it's a mystery, but either way, it's fun to get posts.
Yeah, I know it's great.
Yeah. I have also just in motivation sometimes, I see what my friends are up to, can get inspired by the things that they're getting up to. If someone has a cool project that they're working on, or if someone goes camping, it can kind of be the spark that gets me going, It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
haven't played my guitar in a while. I haven't gotten out today, sort of thing. It can,
Right.
can kind of get you off the couch and get you moving. There's definitely a con to that, but we're not talking about the cons right now,
Right.
At its core, it can be encouraging.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I
Motivating.
I think a lot of these pros and cons they're almost like that you can have the same one for both, but again, it kind of comes down to like how it's used, which we'll all get into the next time. But I think that's kind of, so yeah, you're right. Like it can have a downside if used poorly, but yeah, at its core, at its best, it is a pro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Give me a con. What's one of your biggest cons, or just a con?
I had one, and this one is just maybe more forefront in my mind, just with this whole like past election season. I put just like screeching into the void. I feel like while social media does give people a voice, it's simply posting to your friends isn't doing anything actually useful. So, I've found that like, while yes, it's a great platform to like, have opinions and say things. If you're not going beyond that and doing things, if you're not going beyond that and you're doing something more, right, then you're just screeching into the void, right? And so I feel like sometimes social media can be used as, people will say their spiel, say their soapbox, which I'm all for, because I'm all for anyone being able to say anything, right? Like, whether I agree or not, I want you to be able to say it. So that in that sense, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But I feel like sometimes people like will say their 2 bits and then be like, all right, I've done my good for the world. And it's like, well, you actually really didn't do anything because you're just, and it's either the way it's done, you're either just yelling and stoking the fire of people who believe the same thing you do, and everyone's like, yeehaw, yeah, good. Or you're just inflaming the flames of unproductive arguments. I found very rarely that do the things people say in regards to, and this is mostly stuff that's like, political or controversial stuff, that rarely is it an actual like conversation. And that's one of those things where I feel like it could be used to like, if you're starting this conversations in the intent of going then to face or whatever. Hey guys, I want to talk about this subject. I know it can be controversial or whatever. Can we do it over a beer? Like that would be awesome. That'd be like the best use of it ever. And that would also, I think, be going one step further than just, the screeching into the void. That would be then going on to make something else happen. So I use that as a con. And again, maybe it's just more recently that's kind of become a thing, but
it has turned into that, hasn't it? I remember, at least my experience of Facebook as a kid was nothing like what it is now. It feels like every post I log on to Facebook, it's politically charged or something like that. And I mean, I guess that's what people are interested in, so fair enough. But yeah, I understand.
And that's the thing, is a lot of these people, like, they want like some kind of change, or they want some kind of whatever it is, like regulation or whatever, and it's just like, you posting a big Facebook rant is going to do less good than probably just like writing a letter to your mayor or congressman or something. I mean, I don't know how much good those do either, but as a mass, if people do something like that does more good than just posting your one rant. The difference is, I think the rant feels good. That's why people do. So, rather than doing something that doesn't feel good. So anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of a release of energy into an echo chamber of sorts, where people are going to affirm what you believe.
Right.
They're generally going to agree. So yeah, it's just kind of what's the word? Validation thing.
Yeah. That could be another entire podcast episode. Yeah. That echo chamber, that idea of an echo chamber is a big one.
Yeah. Totally. One con that I had, and for me this is huge, is the idea of comparison. Oh, geez. I mean, yeah, I fall victim to this one all the time, because you're constantly comparing your life, how it really is, to other people's fake lives in a way, or the lives that they portray themselves to have. I don't think it's healthy at all for us to constantly be comparing ourselves to other. I mean, just in general, but also just people's lives on the internet are not nearly as that's not a, what's the word? That's not an accurate picture of their lives. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. And I had put on one of mine as a con was, I'm trying to find it here, but basically you can present yourself in a less authentic way, basically, and not out of like any kind of bad motivations necessarily, but it just seems to happen, right? No, people aren't going to post their, I don't know, it's just, normal life can be so boring. So we're either going to post like, here's my life, it's greater than it actually is, type of things, or, and I think it can kind of cut the other way, where sometimes people will post and be like a little over dramatic about their life for attention, and in both instances, that's really what you're seeking, is kind of this like attention, or which I think is caused by this comparison, right? This idea of keeping up with the Joneses, having experiences of your peers and other people. But
and there's not anything necessarily wrong with posting cool pictures.
Not at all,
or anything. I mean, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he was at kind of a low point in his life, or he is now, and he was just saying like, "Hey man, I love seeing pictures of the fun stuff that you and your family do." maybe you're worried you're just doing them for likes, but for me, it's really cool to see. I was like, oh, well, great. That's awesome.
Right.
But as you said, when it becomes about the likes and about that validation, it's just like I need attention from somewhere or from
Right.
someone, and I don't
Yeah.
necessarily care who it's from.
Yeah, totally. Or like even what kind of attention it is necessarily, healthy or unhealthy. And
Hmm.
I think that's just something that, again, like it's a way you use it. It's like the way that you post and you do things. Like it's kind of like you can't really say whether someone's using it this way or not. You kind of have to just be honest with yourself in some sense. But
Hmm.
no, I know, yeah, and I agree. There's nothing inherently wrong with those things. It's just when you let it become like just a bigger deal than it is really, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, and kind of that grass is always greener thing can really dilute your life if you're not careful.
yeah, oh, totally.
I was watching this video from his name's Stephen Bartlett, I think.
Okay,
He's this vlogger, and he gives great advice. And he was just talking about when your grandparents got together, they didn't have hundreds of other people at their fingertips to, compare their significant other to, or to,
yeah,
constantly be wondering, oh, could I go out with this person or could I score this person? Yeah, and I thought that was such a good point. We kind of have this illusion of choice all the time, and the grass is always greener, and oh, this person lives this life. Maybe I could just ditch my life and live that one
right.
instead. I don't know. It kind of
Well, I think you bring up an interesting point there when you say like kind of like ditch my life and live that one when you're comparing to other people's. I think sometimes, and this is again, I don't want to get into like something that's like totally different topic, but I think sometimes we don't even really know what it is like we want like from this like what are my own goals, like what are my own things of like living a good life. And sometimes I think I get frustrated in the just feeling lost in life, that it's so easy to like see someone who's doing this or doing that, or has this or has that on social media and be like, okay, that's what I want, or I start striving for that, when really I don't even actually care about that. I just kind of trick myself into thinking that I do.
yeah,
And I think that's kind of, yeah, this component of, rather, yeah, like kind of ditching what you've got and going after something else, just kind of chasing the wind, rather than taking a realistic look, an honest look at your own life and saying, okay, what do I want? How am I going to push through maybe the hard things to go after that, rather than kind of like just, yeah, again, be jumping ship from thing to thing to thing.
right.
That may not even in the end be what you want.
Wow, yeah,
And I think that can come from this, yeah, game of comparison that you're talking about. So,
yeah, totally. And you feel admiration for what other people are doing, and it's like, oh, I would love to live that life, or that seems so cool. But kind of like what you were saying, you haven't really thought to yourself, what do I want though? Like I'm not that
right,
person, you know.
totally.
If I was that person, I'd probably go after those things. But I'm me, so what is it that I want before you go chasing all this other stuff?
Right.
Wow, that's good.
We'll have to talk about that one some more
All right,
sometime.
yeah, lodge that one away.
Comment sections, this kind of goes back to, again, just like there just seems like to be so much anger and like just straight up rudeness in
Yeah.
comment sections. I think it's just because you're not face to face. We've talked about this before, just in our own conversations, but the fact that online you don't see how your words in that instant are affecting somebody, right? Like when I post a comment, like I don't see that, I don't see their reaction. I don't see what I'm doing to them as a person, because I just like post it, feel good, and then move on. Whereas like if we were standing in person, I might choose my words a little bit differently so as to not like just straight up hurt someone, which then also makes me feel bad because I just made someone else feel bad or whatever. And
Yeah.
I think that again, it kind of just goes back to the face to face thing, where it's like this is just not like a healthy outlet or like venue for this kind of conversation sometimes.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Louis C.K. talks about how kids, the whole online thing isn't helping kids because what's the story he gave when a girl tells another kid, "Oh, you're fat," and they see in their
Yeah,
eyes.
I think that's where I got this
Is
from.
that
Actually, now
yeah?
it's coming
Okay.
back to me. Like I think it was listening to him.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
yeah, sorry,
yeah.
keep
And,
going.
and he sees in their
Yeah,
eye that their face falls and they get sad and their eyes well up with tears and you see that and you're oh ugh, I didn't like that. That made me feel gross.
yeah.
But when it's
Did you feel like a
online,
jerk?
yeah, you feel like a jerk, rightly so. Yeah, but when it's online, you don't see that or you don't see what it does to the rest of their day or
Right, right.
yeah, that's a great point. Mm,
Which, yeah, which I think is interesting. And then, so I kind of put on there too, cyberbullying, which
mm,
I have mixed feelings about. I think in some sense, yes, it's a very real thing that should be taken seriously. But I think it's one of those things that I almost think both parties kind of have a part to play in this because, look, if someone's starting to give me crap or starting to like kind of say mean things to me, the fact that you're online, like I can just shut my computer, right? I can turn off
mm-hmm,
my phone. I can block them. I can just choose to ignore it. And that's one of those things where so I have mixed feelings on it because I do think it can be a real destructive thing that people do, but it could be shut down so easily from
mm-hmm.
the receiving side of just being like, all right, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm gonna
Yeah,
block. Get over it, go on. But that's
yeah,
hard, right? Like you don't want to also. It's that not all responsibility is given there,
totally.
but either way, it's something that can be a negative outcome of all of this, whether it's both sides handling it poorly or the one side has all responsibility. I don't know.
Yeah, and this is probably, like you said, another conversation we could delve deeper into. But I think that if kids who are growing up now, or even if they've grown up with the internet, they put way more stock in it all than
Mm.
maybe you and I might, because
Right.
the internet wasn't a part of my life till I was a teenager.
Right.
And even I don't know, and I think some kids, some people just don't know how to regulate as well.
Right.
Maybe just because they weren't taught how. And that's not their fault that they weren't taught how. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Like when someone's talking crap to me, it could be online playing a game or it could be
Yeah.
on the internet.
Good old Rocket
Yeah,
League.
okay, yeah, you knew exactly.
Did I, dude? Yeah, I had a moment like a month ago or 2 months ago
Yeah.
where I was playing and so this is it will come back around to the story. But yeah, no, I was playing online just like by myself. I had a few minutes and right at the start of the game, like, I think I made like some kind of mistake. I said like sorry in the chat because like I, missed an easy save or something like that. Just something stupid. Like we're playing a freaking video
I
game,
know,
right?
yeah.
And this guy on my other team, I think we were playing doubles, and he's just like, oh come on, teammate, like blah blah. And I'm just like, dude, like we're like 10 seconds in this game, like it's a game.
Yeah.
Like why do you have to do that? So of course, like I'm in like I don't know, trolling mood maybe. I don't know. I just like kind of laughed it off and I was like, all right, dude. And so I just like started playing for the other team and I don't even know. I started just like making goals on myself and I was like just laughing.
Yeah,
And this
yeah, yeah.
guy's like freaking out. Like he's like getting super worked up. And I'm like, dude, like, I just like, this is not important.
Yeah.
And he like kept going like, I'm gonna report you, blah 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 blah. And then and I'm like, okay, like whatever. I was like, dude, that's fine. You can report me. That's cool. Like, and I said that. I was like, go ahead. Like, I'm fine. I didn't say anything mean back to him. I didn't say anything nasty.
Mhm.
And then after the game, he like personally messages me on the PlayStation like network, like outside of the game, like just in the like
Yeah.
the PlayStation network itself. And he's like calling me like all like you motherfucker like that, like I'm gonna report you. No, and he's like I'm gonna do it. Like I just did it. Like blah. And he like kept going. I didn't respond
Oh, my
one single time to any of
word.
his messages, but he seriously messaged me for probably like I'm just like off playing another game, trying to ignore him, and it's like probably 10 minutes of him just like every minute just like sending another like message, and I was just like,
Wow.
dang, like this is crazy. Like this is crazy.
Yeah. It's nuts.
But yeah, it's just people can fly off the handle sometimes.
It's crazy.
It's
Yeah.
like it's regulation, like understanding what's important. And if I were to like keep inciting, or if I were to respond back and start screaming back at him, like that would have just been a really bad situation, right?
Totally.
Like I just had to ignore them and not say anything back. But
Totally. Yeah, it's a question of what you spend your energy on, right? Like that
right,
guy is choosing to spend his energy
a
on
very unhealthy way.
yeah, yelling at you for something stupid that doesn't even matter.
Right.
Yeah, and to like yeah, same. When I play Rocket League, I make it so that no one can message me anything besides those little prompts. Like,
Right.
for those of you who haven't played the game, you can send each other prompts using these
These little
buttons.
hotkeys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just little ways to say like, "Oh, I got it," or defending
Nice
or
shot.
nice
What a
shot.
save.
Yeah, so I only let them send me those because, unfortunately, I was like, when people send me these
Like personalized.
yeah,
Yeah.
personalized message.
Customized
I
messages.
don't play as well because
It's
when you hear words, you can't always ignore them. So part of me gets the whole online
yeah.
thing. I get why people get sucked
But
in.
right. But see. But here's where I say right. Like some responsibility is then on the other side. Right. Like you said, you block those types of messages
Right?
because you
Yeah, I just
know
don't want them.
you're like, look, I want this to be something fun. Like this is just a stupid hobby that I want to do for enjoyment, for entertainment, for fun. So
Yeah.
I'm going to take some responsibility and just shut these things off, right?
Hmm.
And that's what I feel like when I bring up cyberbullying, I have mixed feelings because I think it does there's some responsibility on both parties when it comes to that because of the nature of the interactions. Both parties have power, some sort of power in that interaction in
Yeah.
that venue.
Yeah.
And so therefore both parties have some sort of responsibility falls on shoulders. And that's kind of what I was trying to say there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Because a lot of this stuff would just be cut off right at the start if both parties had a little bit more responsibility. So
Totally.
sorry, that was a tangent.
No, it's fine. I think we should revisit that topic later on.
I agree. Yeah, no, that would be great.
Cool.
And
Put a pin in
and
that.
I just want to say too, one thing that I kind of as I was going through these, I found it way easier. I think I have a lot more pros than I have cons in general. I thought it was interesting because I kind of like dislike a lot of social media things, but I'm like, well, why am I finding so many pros if I kind of have this like I think it's more bad for us than it is good necessarily. And when I look at these, like a lot of these pros, they're so good because I'm gonna have to do with like convenience and like speed and like being able to find people that like to do the same things as you and making new friends, networking for jobs. Like the whole reason I have the job I have right now is because of social media, because I saw that my friend was moving on, messaged him saying congrats and then find out, oh, look, they're looking for his replacement. Like that. I like owe this job to social media. Like that's powerful.
Yeah.
Connect with people, and you could start a business now with social media outlets. Like you can help your business, like use it for education with like groups in your class and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And then as I'm going through the cons though, what I kind of found is like these pros are good and a lot of them are good for like productivity and like fun, lighter things. But it seems to me like the cons, while there might be less of them, they're heavier. They're almost like weighted more. They have to do with like our souls as people and like just general, I don't know, like they just seem a lot heavier to me. And it was kind of an interesting observation I had. Like, cyberbullying or just obsession for likes, and this just stuff that seems to be way more like mentally and emotionally sick, I guess.
Yeah.
Just heavier stuff that can really ruin your life and get sucked into. Which is not to say that I don't think, it can be used for a lot of good, which is why I'm excited for next, the podcast. We end up talking about how to deal with it, but it was just kind of an interesting thing I thought, and I don't know.
That's an awesome observation. You're absolutely right. Because when I think, it's a great point. Because
Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes.
Sorry.
Call me Watson.
Hot Watson.
Oh.
Right now,
that's the noise I make when I feel flattered. But I was gonna say, if I have so many cons, why do I still have it about social media?
Right.
Why am I still on it every day when I just have all these complaints about it? It must, you're absolutely right. There
must be something at least worthwhile there.
Yeah.
Or redeemable or something.
Totally. Humor. I really appreciate the humor of social media.
We can't get over. Oh, okay, yeah. So humor is the best part about the internet as a whole, I believe.
Yeah.
It's so good, and I think you can't take things too seriously. Like it's a powerful thing, but you also got to kind of you take it for what it is, and I think a lot of that is, yeah, again, like the important thing is the face to face, and if you can use that to get to the face to face, awesome. Other than that, I kind of think that humor is the best part of it all.
Yeah, I agree.
And I had a story about humor if you want, but I don't want to I feel like I talk so much during this stuff.
No, man, it's cool.
Okay.
I was promised a story. I'm gonna hear
so this
story.
Is the story of Shia LaBeouf. And
Shia LaBeouf.
I love Shia. Okay, so I'll preface this with saying I genuinely enjoy Shia LaBeouf. Like, I think he might be a little misguided in some things. He's a little bit crazy, but like I think he's a good actor. He's freaking hilarious with some of the stuff he's done online. Like,
yeah,
I mean, he made the "Just Do It" meme thing, which like, I think he's a genius because I don't think he's serious. Like that rant, I don't think is serious. I think he's being like the funniest person in the world in that video. Personally.
Totally.
I don't know, I guess, but that one where they're all dancing on the stage. What's that one even called?
Actual Cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
Yes. And then at the end, like he's in the crowd, like clapping, like dude, like that's freaking hilarious.
So good, yeah.
Anyway, if I guess you haven't heard of this, and I don't know if anyone else has, and this is great. This is an example of how I think the internet can be a hilarious place. Now, this kind of runs that line of I wouldn't call it cyberbullying, but like trollism that can be done unhealthily. But I guess I would just like I'll tell the story first and then say this. So Shia LaBeouf started this thing when President Trump was either while he was running or while he was shortly after he was elected. I don't know which. But there was this art museum or art exhibit, I should say, in New York City that he like started, and it was just these words on a white wall with like a camera, and it said "He will not divide us." And basically the whole exhibit, it was supposed to go for the full 4 years of President Trump's term, and basically people could go up to the wall, shout or say or yell or whatever, "He will not divide us," right? Totally fine. Like, I don't necessarily agree with it, but like I absolutely agree with your like right to do that, and I think that's great that you're able to do that. I think we live in an amazing country that allows us to do that. And okay, like kind of a neat thing. And in this instance, I like so basically people started like trolling it, like because there was a live stream of it, this camera, so you could see people doing it. And of course, like it's almost like you're asking for it at that point. Like if you don't know the internet enough, like well enough by now, like that's just out. Like you just left too much out of your control here. And so of course people start trolling it, blah blah blah. Shia LaBeouf ended up getting arrested because he didn't like straight up assault somebody, but he was like screaming into their ear, kind of like pushing them.
Wow. Okay.
For a trolling thing, which again, like, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with like that kind of like, okay, let's just go like, get all up in their faces and be trolling their thing and whatever. So that I'm not like super in agreement with how those 4chan people are trolling. I don't even know if that one was 4chan, but it was like these just trolls. Don't know if I totally agree with that, but it was the ignition of the rest of it, which is hilarious. So after that, that thing was supposed to go for 4 years, and it went for like, I don't know, like a week or something.
Okay.
So after that, he decided to do his next like performance art thing that he's been doing like a lot of these lately. Or whatever.
Yeah.
And this one was he had a flag that said "He will not divide us," and it was a live stream of a flag, and it was, I think the flagpole was like like 4 feet tall or something. It wasn't a tall flagpole or anything, but the camera was low, so you're just like looking up at this flag and then the sky, and you can't really like it's just the flag in the sky. Like I have no idea where this is. So 4chan people being and this is what's amazing. 4chan has done this before with like actual cop investigations where they have like solved these things that cops couldn't figure out, and they do it in like an extraordinarily short amount of time. So anyway, they used flight patterns of airplanes and looking at the clouds and the weather to triangulate where this flag was, and they went and in the middle of the night during the live stream, they took the flag down, and I think they put up like a MAGA hat and like a Pepe shirt or something stupid like that. And like, and again, like I'm not saying I'm not like divulging like which side of the political spectrum I agree with or whatever. Like this just for the fact of like how kind of crazy and impressive and hilarious it is to me, because and like again, it's almost like you're asking for like the best the best trolls are the ones who can like get people to make themselves mad, not the people who like are being mean, right? Because there's a fine line between like I'm just trolling you and I'm just straight up being mean, right? And the best trolls, which is when I think it's hilarious, is when they get someone to make themselves mad, right? And that's kind of like what I feel like is happening here. So anyway, they got that like taken down. I think he had like, so that was supposed to last like forever, but oh yeah, no. Then there was a second flag. So after that flag got took down, they decided to move the flag, and it was like moved to like London or something. And in less than like 12 hours, they like found that one and like had the live stream had to be taken down. And so you're just like, oh my gosh, like don't mess with these people, because again, like they have helped like real law enforcement officers in like solving some crimes with like their crazy sleuth skills. And then the latest one, which happened a couple months ago, which like is just hilarious. Like I guess Shia LaBeouf, he had this museum exhibit where it was like this cabin in this museum, and he was going to be in a real cabin like out in Finland. It was like could be anywhere in Finland was this cabin. He was going to be in this cabin. It was either him and like 3 friends or just him. And basically when people would go into this cabin in the museum, they would interact with him. As far as I think that's how it worked, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah.
But that's not the important part. The important part is he purposely went into like the middle of Finland to be in the cabin so people couldn't like mess with him and stuff. And in less than like a day, they found which cabin he was in because they like matched the wood grain of the cabin. Like, so like, you know, he's sitting in, you know, he's got like this live stream going or pictures. They look at like the wood and like the couch he's sitting on, and they just like search all the cabins up for rent in like Finland and just start like narrowing down stuff. And they found the exact cabin he's in like less than a day. And I'm like,
what?
Oh my God. It just, I just think stuff like that kind of demonstrates the power that social media can have. And I don't, and again, like whether it's up to you whether that's a good use of it or a bad use of it. Like I think it's just a hilarious use of it and like whatever, because it can be used for good and bad. But I think it just overall demonstrates the power that kind of stuff has and the potential that this technology has. And it's amazing. It's quite amazing. Like
yeah, totally.
So.
Oh man, that's fantastic. Oh, that's so good. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
This isn't really comparable, but the other day, just for our audience, if none of you have looked up various Amazon reviews of totally useless products, there's just these ones that like should be in the Hall of Fame for online culture. I was
gonna say we should post. No, we should. I was just saying we should remember to post a link to this episode's page with some examples because it is gold. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. Okay, great. We will. But yes, that's one of my favorite uses or misuses, if you will, of the internet and social media and comment boards and stuff. Is there are these totally useless or just straight up ridiculous products on Amazon, and if you look at them, they have tons of comments from people who probably never bought them, but anyone can write a review, and oh my gosh, they're so funny. Me and Phil were at dinner the other night, and we looked up this one called "How to Avoid Huge Ships." It's a book entitled "How to Avoid Huge Ships," which is hilarious in itself. But the comments, the reviews, people. One of them, just a little taste. There are so many, and they're all hilarious, but just a little taste. One of them is entitled 1 star, far too effective. And it's like, I read this book, and now I disembarked from my cruise ship this morning, and I'm not able to find it anymore. Because he's avoiding huge ships. Anyway, but we'll post some of those.
Yeah, but yeah, all that said, I mean, humor is really the kind of, I don't know.
The saving grace.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The saving grace. Like, look, if we can, this is powerful, but at the end of the day, you know, it's also new too, right? Like, this has only been going around since, I don't know, like late junior high for us, 10 years or so.
Yeah.
And it has evolved a lot. You know, when it's interesting when I first, started, I think with like Facebook, and before that there was like some MySpace I was never into, but and then you've got like we had stupid videos for a while, and then YouTube came along, and all that. Like, it's interesting to see how it has really evolved to become an incredibly portable thing. Like, when I use Facebook now, it's almost all on my phone. When I use Twitter, it's on my phone. When I use Instagram, it's on my phone. When I first started, it was on the computer, which was a desktop computer, and it's just interesting how I think that also has had an effect on just the amount of time and energy we spend on some of this stuff, is the fact that it's become so portable. And there's, I mean, and we mentioned, like, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is kind of, Snapchat is like kind of the big ones, but there's so many social media things that we use, and so many of them are apps on our phones.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to, like, it used to be like, I'd go out, still have my day, and when I'd come home, instead of like watching TV, I might do social media on a actual like computer. And now it's every second, out there you could be distracted by this stuff, and it's just interesting to kind of see that shift. And also I found this interesting like timeline of just kind of the usage in the US. Back in 2008, 24% of the population used, I think this is just all population, not just grown-ups, but yeah, population, 24% in 2008 used social media, right? Any form of social media, right? So back then it was probably, Facebook or something. Now, 2017, 81%. So in...
Of the world's population?
US.
Oh, US, okay.
Population.
But yeah.
Currently use any kind of social media.
Wow.
But that's a lot. That's a huge jump in just, what is that, 9 years?
Yeah, that's massive.
10 years? 9 years.
Yeah.
9 years.
9 years.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, it's just kind of interesting to see, like, okay, this is still something that's evolving, right? And I think that gives a lot of, one, like, if we can look at this for what it is, figure out these best practices, how to mitigate as many of these cons as we can, and elevate some of these pros, as this thing keeps evolving. I mean, I think it could be, and it's going to be, it's not going to go away. It could be something that is very good for our lives. But I think that just this kind of just unbridled, just like pursuit of it sometimes is a lot of what our problems are. Just like no thought to what's healthy and what's not.
Yeah.
Which I think we'll get into.
We kind of need those strategies in place now, in a way, because you're right. The sky's the limit with this thing. We have, half the apps on my phone that I use regularly. 5 years, I couldn't even conceive that could be a thing.
Right.
Like the whole live stream thing, just stuff like that. It's like, what? That's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And again, it's like this powerful stuff because, you've got, I mean, just ways to get these firsthand accounts of different things going on in the world that you can do, that you can now see live streaming.
Yeah.
And you've got some horrible things that you can see live streaming that have been live streamed. Like it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
I didn't get through all of my pros and cons. You probably didn't either.
Not all of them.
Do you have any other like important ones you want to mention?
We kind of covered them all. One thing I will say is that sometimes we get more satisfaction out of likes than we actually do out of the experiences that we're photographing.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of this, man. Like,
oh yeah.
I posted a picture of me kayaking 2 days ago or something, and it's like this. It's definitely my best picture of me kayaking. It's just like the composition's right and it's symmetrical, whatever. And so I've got
the one of that museum or whatever, like right on the water.
Yeah, the Science World.
I want to go there. I saw that and I was like, that looks sweet.
Yeah, dude.
That looks awesome.
You got to come because it was awesome. But now in my mind, for some reason, I'm like convinced that was a better trip than the last few trips I've done because I got more likes or something, right. and that's not true, obviously. And I know that that's not true, but just, I don't know, it's this little weird mental thing where you feel like, oh, I got more satisfaction out of that memory because it's perfectly preserved.
Yeah.
And I got more likes and people saw me being cool and having fun or whatever. But no, that's not the case. Like, or maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but the value is in the experience, not in the social media aspect or the history of it online now. you know.
Yeah, it should be that way, right?
Yeah, it should be.
Well, and we should really break that one down into it's straight up its own episode, because there's so much there to unpack, and an amazing movie that has to deal with some of that stuff too.
Ooh.
But we should make that one like part 2 or something, and this is going to be a part.
Yeah, I feel like this might be more than part 2. Okay.
I might as well just say, hey, any of the pros and cons we didn't get around to, we'll get around to in episode 6 or something, like,
sure,
because I think this is something that is a valuable thing to talk about, especially in our day and age. And I think also, especially dealing with what we're trying to do here with really, really badly. One, realizing that we are using social media for this stuff. Like, we are literally using Skype to talk to each other face to face to make this happen, because we are literally in different countries right now doing this, making this happen. We're going to be using a online, blog to put these up and to get word out. I'm sure we're going to be using social media.
Yeah.
So, it's funny because we talk about a lot of these cons and how dangerous this can be, but we also have to be fully aware that, like, this is a powerful tool. Like, this is the vehicle that we're using to start this thing. And I just want to be able to do that well, and do that good.
Hello.
Can you hear me? And this is another con. It's just not good enough yet.
It's not good enough. Okay, I'm back. Everything's moving like it should. Yeah, cool. Well, let's make this several part series. I like it.
Yep. And I think I would just say, as always, for all of the 5 people that are probably listening at this point in time, you are, if you are one of the 5 now, you have more power than anyone else that will in the future, because we do want this, again, we want this to be something that is starting a conversation. We want, if people want to leave comments, leave suggestions, be involved, whatever. If a 5-part series of covering all this stuff is a terrible idea, let us know.
Yeah. And if you want to jump on something that we said during this whole thing, or if there's something that you want to add to the conversation, please send it our way and we'll talk about it. Or even if it's just emailing with you, or if you want us to hash it out over Skype for one of our episodes, happy to do that.
Absolutely. Yep. So anytime, always feel free to do that.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, real quick, what's one thing this week that inspired you?
I knew you were going to ask. Is it my turn?
Yes. Probably not, but yes.
You did it for the first time.
I think I've done it twice.
So you have 1, 2, 3, and then okay. But keeping score isn't what matters, Brandon. This is a relationship. So I think no.
Just go.
One thing that has inspired me, I listened to. I'll point to a specific episode of a podcast, and I know I'll mention this one probably like 100 times throughout our life. For this, but the Art of Manliness podcast is one that I've been listening to for a couple years now. And I listened to an episode this last week where Brett, the guy who runs the podcast, had Mike Rowe, if you don't know, from Dirty Jobs, the Discovery Channel show that used to be on. So the guy, Mark Rowe, Rowe, was on his podcast. It was one of the best podcasts I've listened to. And I would just say, go to it and listen to it. He talks a lot about, it was called, I think that it's titled like The Case for the Blue Collar Job. And it was fantastic. And it will challenge a lot of thoughts or preconceptions you might have about college and what kind of jobs, if you're someone who's younger looking for that kind of stuff. Definitely some good thoughts there. And I'll just leave it at that. So it's super specific, but the Art of Manliness with Mark Rowe, The Case for the Blue Collar Job, I think is what it's called.
Awesome. Sweet. I'm going to listen to it. Sounds cool. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. This has been Really, Really Badly, episode 4.
Good one.
Bye.